All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. And this morning, today's topic is why the modern African lifestyle is better than America. And we have the brother all the way from Mombasa, Kenya, Mr. Amenkrahh with us on today. Amenkrahh, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. This is in the afternoon now. We've been having some really good weather here in Mombasa. And already the haymakers are out there trying to say there's a drought. Whenever the rain's short, they come up, I don't know, I guess these NGOs come up with there's a drought. They come up with some kids, some dirty kids somewhere, and then say, you pay into this fund, people are dying of the drought. But otherwise, things are good here in Mombasa.
Now, Amenkrahh, there was an article written not too long ago talking about the sex tourism that goes on in Mombasa. I know you're gonna say it's fake news, but you say everything's fake news. As far as the Europeans coming to Mombasa and pretty much buying these young Kenyan women, is there any truth to that?
Okay, that's true all around the world.
True. Okay, and, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You're right.
That's true all around the world. Anywhere you go where the European lands, is going to be prostitution. That's with the natives. That's centuries. You know, Mombasa is very old, older than the United States, and the trade systems come here, and you got these beautiful, you got some beautiful ladies here in Coast, and you know, even before there was money, before there was really money, the women were sleeping with the sailors in exchange for goods, you know, and things like that. So this is nothing that is that hasn't been happening for centuries. And then you know, you have to, you know, you got to look at the thing from the point of view of the news, because I think always when you talk, how many you're going to say it's fake news. We have to be able to discern ourselves from what the newspapers. I mean, you have to put yourself in the position of the newspapers, and they have to sell. And especially with social media on the rise the way it is, they have to sell. So these stories are becoming more and more, you know, fake, as you know. And and I'm talking about those people in the United States who are thinking about moving to Africa. We have to be able to, you know, separate what's true and from what's a newspaper is trying to sell newspapers. So you're talking about, if you're talking about articles today, like it just happened yesterday, or you know, that's nonsense. It's been going on for centuries. You go to any area where Europeans or any travelers go, you're going to look for women. Hell, when I came to Mombasa, I looked for women. So it's not like that's something that is going to deter people from having a structured family and having a business here in Africa. In fact, in some ways, it's a plus.
Now let's get into so the topic is why the modern African lifestyle is better than America. Now you've been in Mombasa now, or in Kenya now, for what, 27 years?
Now my 21st year.
21 years.
I'm in my 22nd year. Sorry.
22nd year. So yeah, you were in LA, you left LA from Mombasa. Like, what differences do you see between the two?
First of all, when I wanted to point out too, because when I became black conscious in 1987. Officially changed my name on January 1st, dropped my slave name, and considered myself an African trapped in America. And it took me 10 years to get myself to the point where I would leave. And even in leaving, I had to just do it, you know, because I kept on hesitating and waiting, and my life in the United States didn't stop, you know. So I was in there dealing with everyday life in the US, and I had to actually put the brakes on that and then jump and make the trip. And that is something that a lot of brothers gotta look at. That's why I say it's better to plan. So, and saying that, I'm just saying that when I decided to come, there was no Google, there was no social media, there was none of this stuff that we have today to give us a better insight into what the travel was. I literally had to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo between Johannesburg, Lagos, and Kenya, and I had decided on Kenya, and then from there, I happened to come across a Kenyan guy in the U.S., and then I befriended him, and from there, I met so many Kenyans, and then uh, you know, even got a Kenyan girlfriend, and then we had kids, and then we all traveled uh, to Kenya together. So mine was a 10-year, 10-year trip in the making, and I never lost focus on my, on my journey. So on what I was going to do, and I just kept moving towards it. But even with that, I still had to really just yank myself out of the American lifestyle, go into Africa like that. And you basically, anybody that's a citizen is going to have to do that. And you might not realize that how hard you have to yank yourself out of your daily routines and your daily lifestyle to make that transition over to Africa. So I just say that everybody should keep that in mind. It's not something like I decide to go and 3 months later I'm going. No, you should take your time and you know do it step by step. Now on the issue of because you made this topic up, Diana.
No, no, go take your time. Hey, listen, I'm a raw.
I'm saying,
Take it slow. You can go any direction you want to. You go any direction you want to. Go ahead. You go any direction you want to.
No, okay. You see, you're touching my point where because I'm a competitor, and so you see now. So anyway, is modern Africa, because there's a difference between Africa and modern Africa. Is modern Africa better than any black community USA? Is it better? Of course, 100% yes. The
Break
answer,
it down. Break it down.
in my opinion, is that. And I come from the richest city and the richest state and the richest country in the world. I come from Los Angeles. So I was, I've been everywhere, dined at Taiping. I don't know if that restaurant is still there. The richest restaurants, blah, blah, blah. And then I can compare. And one of the main attributes that make modern Africa better, which you really can't know until you get here, is the fact that there's no racism and you're not a minority. You see, we have that built in us in the United States. That it's like a defense mechanism. Where you go someplace, you always got to look out and see if there's blacks there, just so you know you're in an okay place. And then at the same time, so many of us just stay within our boundaries by habit. We don't venture out. We don't like to go traveling other places that's unknown to us. This is built into us from living in a racial society as a minority. And you don't really realize that until you're out of it. And it still takes time. It took me years to get the understanding that I was free to walk around and go anywhere without having to thinking that people are looking at me and that I'm different. You see? So that's worth the price of admission right there. Unfortunately, until you come, you can't really know that. So you don't, as a black person in the U.S., you don't look at it as a value. But that's one of the biggest values. The fact that you don't have racism and you're not considered a minority. You're not looked at upon as a minority when you get here into Africa.
Now you said that LA is the richest place in America, but from a black perspective, but from a black perspective, is it the richest place?
Okay,
black wealth.
I'm saying, I've been to many black communities, except for Texas and the South.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to Cincinnati, I've been to St. Louis, I've been to many, and when I went to imagine I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, And I told this brother that I was from Los Angeles, and he didn't believe me. So when I showed him my driver's license, he was like, I always wanted to go there, and I was like, what's the big deal? But then when I started going around Cincinnati, I saw like, man, it's just like
It's rough.
nothing like not like what we have in LA. Not like what we have in LA. I mean, LA got Hollywood. Hollywood got mountains, beaches. These people in other parts of the country, it's good, fairly good weather. Yeah, people around the country those days. I don't know what it's like today. I know everybody's migrating out of
LA.
California because, LA because of the prices and gentrification. But back then, that was it was a big thing to be from Los Angeles.
Right. And LA, what's crazy is even with Skid Row, even with the trash everywhere, the cost of living still continues to go up and up and up.
You're gonna have the cost of living going up because the United States is dying. Okay, so
package that. Explain that.
The United States, the Western civilization is dying.
Mm-hmm.
The white man who you thought was so smart is in an economic pothole. He done stepped in a big mud hole and he's trying to get his foot out and it's not coming out. You keep hearing and okay, yes, I give it up that they've been saying this for decades. Every decade they say, oh, the economy, America's gonna crash, but now this thing is getting serious. And now that you're coming around 2020 for the elections, the politicians are giving you the true story. Bernie Sanders is there singing that, oh, we're in a bad shape, oh, oligarchy. But these things are already being there. It's just that they're trying to touch on them to try to sway votes. And that's when you can really get to see the real United States, when these politicians come out and talk about what they really know to try to hurt the other side. So America is in problems, and it's not going to get any better. The West is in problems. Italy has been, no one wants to talk about it. Italy was in a recession the entire year of 2018. Can you imagine? Recession the whole year, didn't touch in the media. Yeah, and the other European countries are no better. Britain, they don't know what's going to happen. When they leave the European Union, they don't even know. They just looking like, rolling the dice. And let's not even talk about France with the Yellow Jacket movement. They on their 19th, 15th, 18th week. Like, the people are saying, I want the same lifestyle as I had before. And the government is like, hey, these African countries are coming awake, and we're not getting the same support as we used to, and we can't get the same amount of money from them as we used to because the governments are becoming stabilized. And the more African country becomes stabilized, the more government is going to take control of the resources. And this is what you see happening over time.
So how do you think this is going to end? We'll say, Rahh, 5 years from now, if you have a crystal ball, you got a crystal ball, crystal ball. Like, what do you know
that it's somehow in my mind, it's like I have a crystal ball. Because when I was in my living room in 1986, I guess let's say October or August, and I had been watching the Ashwa Kwesi tapes and had started getting into the Stolen Legacy books and so on and so on. And I remember I was sitting at my desk in my living room, and I just like, shit, I gotta go to Africa. There's no way that if you could follow this thing through in the Black Conscious movement, that you don't make the trip. Because you couldn't tell back then, you couldn't tell today unless you go there. And this is the thing. So you can't, that's why I say everybody in America, every Black person in America is a Negro. And it's not to be, I'm not trying to be condescending or being rude. I'm saying you are a Negro. Go back to the 60s and 50s. There, everybody was called a Negro, and the Negro had not one thought about moving away from the United States. He wanted to integrate. And there's a very good video I put on my Facebook, Black Man's Guide to Moving to Modern Africa. You go there, in my Facebook group, you'll see there's a article there talking about how to sell to the Negro, and it was
Yeah.
brought. It was created in 1954, and that goes. I mean, it's amazing, and it's Ebony Publishing Company, and I didn't know. I thought it was black back then, but I guess I don't know the story. But anyway, they wrote this whole video about how you can now stop hating the Negro and realize that he's a big money maker. You know, that was when the whites were talking to other whites, telling them, use the black man, treat him nicely, take his money, because he is a major force. Even the government was involved in that video in a study in the 1950s, and I would believe that eventually that next year they got keen and they started to talk about how the Negro should to assimilate into society, and I'm sure there's a big connection there. But I started this thing back in 2005 when I wrote my book, and I knew it was coming. It's like a crystal ball, and if you cannot look at your own personal history, like what drop down now and look at the timeline today. You got to look over time, and it's not a lifetime. It's over long periods of time. Your lifetime is just a small segment of what's happening, and it's like a wave. Because in 2005, when I wrote the book, there was nobody talking about coming to Africa. That, like, why? You know, and then 2007, 2006, 2007, when they was making all that money, oh no, they was not thinking about coming to Africa. But then when the recession hit, there was a big interest after that. Then it died down because the government started putting in credit. And now that credit situation is in danger because China is now a superpower and it's challenging the United States. And the United States can't get any more big revenues. This is where you are. You see, it's just a slow process, but at the end of the day, you're going to have more and more blacks in America considering moving to Africa, as well as moving to Europe and Brazil. You see, but
what are your thoughts as far as moving to Europe for a Black American? Like, how do you feel about that?
You know, they're not telling the truth about the economy. You know, any black person that investigates into you, where they're gonna go? Poland or shade there. Maybe he could tell you, is it growing or is it not growing? But you're still a minority. So, and like I said before, the biggest plus of moving to Africa is the fact that you are not a minority. And unfortunately, you can't really understand that until you come and become part of the majority, where you're walking in a sea of black people and nobody is paying no one is paying you any kind of attention to you until you open your mouth. You see, and you can go everywhere, supermarket, bank, and I'm talking mainly in Kenya. There's not going to be any white people running things or like that as far as your daily routine in your life. And I wanted to point that out too about because I always want to be beyond this bullshit about the Chinese and the
So Rahh, somebody in the chat room brought up how Mandarin is being taught in schools. What are your thoughts on that? And real quick, shout out to Ben Yosa for the super chat. Go ahead.
How about the Mandarin?
They're saying that Mandarin is being taught in schools across Africa.
Mandarin. Oh, you mean Mandarin, the Chinese language?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I was for that 5-6 years ago. I mean, if your major trade department is 70% of your trade is going with China, then why not? You know, it's no different than if it was England. When the British came and made English a point. No different than when the Afrikaners tried to make Afrikaner the language. That's just a normal thing because of the trade. You see, because of the trade that's going on with that superpower. America, this wouldn't even be a conversation if America was doing their job in Africa. She's not. She can't even afford to now. She's pretending that she can just control it, and she can't. Obviously, you see what's going on in Venezuela, or maybe most blacks in America don't get their news. They're not going to get. They're the Russians have stepped in and decided that they were not going to allow the Venezuela to be taken over by the Americans' puppet president, so candidate, like they did in Libya. So this thing of Mandarin, I was for that. So I don't know, but it's not in. I work in a public school system here in Kenya, so there's nothing like Chinese anything going on being taught in the primary level. So that maybe that's in South Africa or in Zimbabwe, but not here in Kenya.
Let's see here. What else we got here in the chat room? So I mean, so what else? I'm around. Like, what else makes modern Africa, besides the race issue? What else makes modern Africa the lifestyle? Okay,
Well,
here we go. Are Africans dealing with gentrification in places like Kenya or Mombasa?
You can't. Okay, how? What's the gentrification? Everybody's black.
I'm just asking.
Everybody's black. So it's not gentrification like you can see the one side that the blacks are being uprooted out of the major cities and thrown into the suburbs. It's just economics, and the African, I can say the Kenyan middle class is booming and growing, and you get a lot of people that are coming out of poverty. Poverty is less than 40% now in Kenya, and the statistics include the people that work on farms, who never even try to deal with money. They just, they're just, what do you call it? Self-farming by themselves. And then, but they've been caught up into the statistics. But if we're talking about the modern African who lives in the city, poverty levels have been greatly reduced. And more people are moving into the middle class. And, you just don't get that. I mean, they're building many different estates, and when they build them, who gonna move there besides Africans? Who gonna move there? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Although the tourist industry just hit in Kenya, just hit 2 million, and is really growing. Also, you're getting a lot of interest from foreign countries, even Europe, because Europe is also dying. Because we still have the exchange rate issue, you're not going to have any gentrification. That's nonsense. That one, there's nothing like that. You suffering that in the U.S. and I feel sorry for you, especially in Detroit, where they really just uprooted the majority of the Motor City is just gone, and it's never going to come back.
What about shout out to Ben Yosef? I'm assuming Ben might not have been to Africa before. I'm not sure, but he said, "Why has Africa not offered a right of return?" Like let me. Okay, all right, here we go. Should Black Americans wait until they're invited to go to Africa?
Okay, you ain't special. Who told you were special because you're black in the United States? You're a fool. That's stupid. You don't have money. The rest of the world knows you don't have money. You understand what I'm saying to you? So you talking, you're embarrassing yourself talking about ADOS. We need reparation. You're embarrassing yourself. All the statistics are saying the same thing. Bernie Sanders is just sitting on the Senate floor, just explaining it to you clearly. Black America don't have money. You understand what I'm saying? So where you gonna go? What you gonna do? How you gonna be valuable to an African country? Surely. This man, shut up, take your lumps, just say the white man beat me. And the only way you can survive and win out of this game is to leave the table. And the only place you're gonna go and have an economic chance of survival is in modern Africa. You're not gonna get that in Brazil. You're not gonna get that in Europe. The only place you got a chance is the only solution is for you to come to Africa. It's just a matter of time. My little crystal ball in my head is telling you're on the Titanic and it's sinking, and you're trying to get up a lot of reasons of why you shouldn't jump in that water. But eventually, you're gonna realize that the boat tilts over. You're gonna realize it. And if you look back in history, you can see that the boat has tilted like 50%, 50%. It's like almost up, like it's like this now, and you know it, but you're just good at ignoring, and so therefore, you know, you get the situation that you're in now. I mean, how can the government sit up and tell you that the next generation is gonna be poorer than the previous, and you just sit like that? I'm still good. No.
Well, what they're predicting is by, I guess, 2053, the net worth of Black Americans will be zero.
Zero. Now they can tell you that, and you still hanging on. I was watching the Farrakhan video the other day because people like to listen to Farrakhan, and I want to remind them that Farrakhan has never advocated Africa as a solution. So there was a 15-minute video he went on, and he's beautiful. He's a beautiful orator, and I have learned a lot from Farrakhan, no doubt. But the fact of the matter comes down to what is the reality. He's talking about, as the same with Elijah Muhammad, I don't know, that we should have a separate homeland and that the United States should give us some states where Black people can all go. And I still say, why stay with the oppressor? I mean, what is the big thing? It's nothing big about him now. He's going under and you're going to follow right along with him. He ain't got nothing of value for you. Meanwhile, Africa is growing and growing quickly. New modern cities are popping up everywhere. People are moving into all these different type of businesses, and you could be a part of that. You see, or if not you, your children, because this is not a lifetime thing. It's a wave that's going on. It goes beyond one person's lifetime. It's a wave. So if you want to look at your children and say, I want to give my child a better life, who doesn't want that for their child? Raise your hand in the chat room. Who don't want a better life for their child? Well, goddamn it, how can you keep your child in a place where he's gonna be poorer than you? You understand what I'm saying? Break loose from the mental nonsense. Stop watching all of that. Look, when people go do searching, people have a bad habit of going on Google and searching for what they want to hear. So we got this big problem with self-hate. So therefore, you look for things that's gonna be like, what are the bad things happening in Africa? You search like that. You see, what you think is gonna pop up on Google? All the bad things that the white man is propaganda he done put out there is gonna pop up. You see, and then we got that habit of searching for what we want and not searching for what we don't, and not searching for what we don't want. And you just don't want to hear the fact that modern Africa is growing. Economists have said it's going to grow for the next 50 years. You see, and you see, you could be a part of that. You see, or you can, I'm 60 years old, and I can imagine myself in the United States. I got friends in the U.S. In another 5 or 6 years, they're gonna be off work, and they're gonna start living off their Social Security. And where are you gonna end up? You're gonna end up in an old folks' home. Go around your neighborhood, you'll see them little buildings. They don't have that much.
Man, and listen, the conditions they're in are terrible. They stink. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
You already you see where I'm going.
I sell insurance to senior citizens, so I already know. Unfortunately.
And I think as you know, Dennis, from coming to Africa, you don't see those. You don't see senior citizen homes in Africa. It's because the country assimilates and takes care of its seniors. So unless you got a magic pill, you 35, you 40-year-olds, listen to me trying to talk about America, why Africa is bad. Unless you got a magic pill that's gonna make you live forever, you need to start thinking about 20 years from now where you're gonna be. Because 20 years ago is when you should have started making your move. Now, 20 years into the picture, you're still banking on the United States, and you banking on the United States. Don't lie. Just get real with yourself. Just look at your name, and if you got an American name, you think you're an American. But so I'm saying so from there, you don't be a hypocrite. Just say I'm a Negro in America. I'm never gonna leave, and I'm gonna take my chances, and then that's fine. But remember, your children are also taking that chance. You're taking that same chance for your children if you keep them there. So I don't know how any parent can sit on the Titanic while it's sinking, holding on to their child instead of putting him in a lifeboat. You understand what I'm saying? So you sitting there holding your child, you instead of putting him in the lifeboat, you're gonna let him go sink and die with you. It's jokes. That's exactly what's gonna happen to a lot of us if we don't start changing our thinking towards modern Africa. And you know, in a psychological point of view, it's like this: the African breaks away from his colonial masters about 50 years ago. He develops and takes control of his cities, and he doesn't develop like the African tribalistic uh, rural area. No, he develops the cities. He becomes modern, and because he becomes modern, he follows that same trend that the white man had gave him. He makes it that much easier for blacks in the diaspora to make the transition. You see, because if you come to modern Africa, and I'm not talking about the countryside, I'm talking about in the city, you find that you can get along, walk around, understand. There's there's Burger King, there's fast food, there's
I ain't coming to Africa for that cash, but some people might. Some people might.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just saying. Okay, I've been here 22 years, so a Whopper looks very good to me when I get a chance. But anyway, that's different. You leave away from that. You leave away from that Big Mac for like 5-6 years. You know, when I went to South Africa, it was a McDonald's, and I hate McDonald's, but I kept on finding myself at that McDonald's every day when I would go for walks. And I'm, how did I get back here? And then, sure enough, and it tasted good too. It's just the fact that it reminds me of home after being away from so long. Those kind of things. Because I didn't have a cultural food. We don't have cultural foods as black people in the U.S. So that's our cultural foods. I'm from the West Coast, so if somebody opened up an In-N-Out burger, ooh, I'd be there. But anyway, I'm just saying they have made the transition to Africa that much easier for us because you can step out and you'll find that the lifestyle is very easy. You got landlords here. When you rent, you're gonna have to deal with the power company. These type of things. You're gonna have neighbors. They're gonna have the same kind of issues you have, and this is a great thing. It's not that difficult as you might think. So I'm just saying that.
Okay, and then shout out to Ia Fasade. Ia wants to know: do you have dual citizenship?
I don't have dual citizenship. My situation is a bit has some legal matters involved in it, so I don't want to talk about it online yet. But like I said, it's almost.
So you don't have.
I'm not interested in dual citizenship. It costs money for dual citizenship, and why? Because every time I decide, this is me personally, because people like to see, okay, what is he doing? But me personally, I've been here a long time, and I contact my family on a regular basis, and I'm not going to spend $1,900 to fly over to the United States to see people who I never really saw.
Okay, well, I'm Rahh. So, do you have Kenyan citizenship at least?
No, I have. Okay, I don't. Like I said, I don't want to get into it now because there's haters. But my situation is almost finished. I'm married in the traditional fashion. I've got the alien card, this whole things like that. This issue of documents, even in business, are not the same like in the United States. So you deal with relations. I have people that back me, help me. I've been to immigration several times on my issues. They're aware. We're working it out because mine is tied to my business. So there are reasons why I try to delay because of business angles. But other than that, if you want dual citizenship, it's available in Kenya at a small fee, and anybody can go for it. You can actually do these things online using eKenya.
Okay, let me read these super chats real quick.
Okay.
Ben Yosef. Okay, we already addressed that. Brian Gibson, Europe does not, shout out for the, thank you for the super chat. Europe does not have a right of return. Amenkrahh is right. You're not special and you're not entitled. Okay. Let's see here. I think there were some more super chats up here. Let's go down here. Okay. Mufasa wants to know, what data do you have that the U.S. is truly sinking? And
oh my God.
And then Ghana. Hold on, let me find Ghana. I know Ghana. Here we go. Here go a couple more. Detail. Why does Africa not see the first country to offer ADOS citizenship will prosper greatly? We are looking for second place to call home outside the U.S. And in Ghana, Dan, very true. Life is good in Ghana, yet you better have a plan in place. There's no safety net. And shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Okay. I hear what you're saying about not having dual citizenship. I hear you. But I just don't understand how someone can live in the country for 20 years and not have citizenship.
What? Why not?
Okay, but why would you not want to? If you have fully relocated to a country and you call that country, why would you not want all the perks?
Who said I'm not a citizen?
No. Okay, but you
talk about document. Talk about documentation like you ain't nothing unless you can show proof. And then after I show proof, then they're gonna come up with okay, you gotta have this paper or you gotta have that. You see, those are haters. Those are haters. Okay, so let them hate. You know, they're gonna try to. People have tried to investigate me. Blah blah. Oh, let's see what he's doing. Oh, is he a criminal from the U.S.? Oh, you let them do that. Let them waste their time. We were doing that 10 years ago. You know, so you get new ones that come that don't need to talk to the old ones who are no longer there to tell them that we're not getting into that nonsense about somebody's paperwork. Paperwork in Africa is different than paperwork in the United States.
What do you mean?
I'm saying when you start talking about paperwork in Africa, it's more heavily on. There's more heavier emphasis on who you know. Okay, so yeah. As opposed to having, because you can have proper paperwork and somebody can just take that paperwork and pretend like it didn't exist. Then it's not. It can be good for you and it can be a weapon against you. So, yeah.
I don't know. I'm wrong.
You know, hey, I'm here, and like I said, I survived. I really can't go beyond this point without having particular paperwork. And we're taking care of that.
Okay.
So the opportunity is up now. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, and you know, I've not had to see like the value. I had a value of having the paperwork. I don't know exactly what paperwork they're talking about, but you know, like a paper that show I'm a citizen. You know, or what?
Okay, let me ask you this, Amenkrahh. Do you have a U.S. or Kenyan passport?
I don't have a Kenyan passport, and I don't have a valid U.S. Passport. The court lost my passport.
Okay, so
I went to court. Kenyan took my passport on an issue, and then they lost it. Can we not go further than that? Because
I'll leave it alone. Okay, we'll go to the next.
Yeah. So you see, I said my issue is different. So yeah, my issue is different, and you know, and like I said, in the next couple months, all this will be resolved.
Okay, all right. Well, I hope it gets resolved.
But I mean, that's only because of my business. If it wasn't for where my business is going, I could care less. I want to go all the way up into dealing with government and paperwork, because it's there's too many people. See, people don't understand that there are so many people in Kenya who don't have paperwork. You see what I'm saying? And it's not like it's not like, you know, it's you could be you know, it's not like it's a big thing. You know what I mean? I'm not okay. I don't want to be talking, you know, like it's not you should follow the letter of the law or the spirit of the law. But in Africa, in general, the spirit of the law takes precedence over the letter of the law. Now, if you were in racist United States and the police pulled you over, it ain't shit you can say if you don't have your driver's license and your insurance papers. Ain't nothing you can say. So, and you know that feeling So it's like that. But in Africa, it's different. That's all I can say about the matter, without giving without giving out energy on it. So, you know.
Yeah. Shout out to Lexi Lex for super chat. I would love to see more African countries keep the American fast food companies out. Also ban GMOs. I think places like Africa, when you have access to fresh food that's affordable, I don't see why anyone. Maybe you might get a craving once every blue moon. It'll get you a Big Mac. Okay, I get it, but I wouldn't step in places.
I can tell you about fast food.
I ate Kentucky Fried Chicken when I was in Nigeria. When I was at the airport, because I was hungry as hell, and I was at the airport, and that shit was delicious. I will say that. But outside of that, but go ahead.
No, the African is still traditional when it comes down to food. So remember that in America, blacks don't have a culture. So they pop up with a new type of restaurant, blacks will deal with it, then another one will come up, they'll deal with that one. We don't have a culture. But Africans have a lifetime culture passed down from generation to generation, like the daddy and palau and biryani. These kind of dishes, like these are traditional dishes that go back in time. And that has and it's all homemade food. So it's like if you talk about, let me go to the store to get some biryani, you'd probably be cursed out African style. It's something that's done and made at home. So the other thing of it is that as a consumer, the African is very stingy. Let me put it like that. He's very, what do you call the word? I can't think of it. But the word, you know the word I'm talking about. Yeah, he ain't about spending extra money on anything that he doesn't normally do. He doesn't like new adventures, no. You see anything cost him extra money, no. So it's very hard to get the consumer to try to switch over to that. Now you get it more in modern Africa, of course, but even if you go to Burger King in Kenya, it's basically empty all the time. It's just like a novelty thing that's at the malls for tourists. But other than that, the average African is not going to go for a change of his normal diet. You won't get that. Maybe you cook some chicken on the roadside, he might go for that, but it had to be right out where he can see it and smell it, and then decide I'm gonna get it. Roasted meat is big. Roasted chicken is also very big here. Fish is very big. But fast food, no, I wouldn't go there. Now there are some important industries in Kenya I would like to talk about, and this goes for most of Africa. As we know, modern Africa, this is the hub of East Africa, which includes Rwanda and Uganda, and the major businesses there are financial, communication, transportation, agriculture, fishing, tourism, and IT. Now, I wanted to point out some up and coming markets that I have observed in my time as a businessman, and those are solar power, wind power, digital education, which is the field I'm in now, data entry, which is an open field that Africans don't realize it has to be there when they transfer over to digital, which is the country is doing at a rapid pace. Online marketing is there. GPS tracking is a very important one, and CCTV installation is another area that is up and coming in Kenya. African Americans who are in those fields would find themselves in a wide open market if they decide to come here.
I'm like go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Like I said, I was saying
hit that like button, you guys. Please, we have 271 people watching, only 78 likes. Please stop. Don't be stingy with those likes. And people who super chatted, please repost your question, because I want Amenkrahh to answer the question, but I can't scroll up to them. So the people who super chatted, please repost your question and put I super chatted. So all right, go ahead, Amenkrahh. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody had mentioned the ADOS movement. And as long as I've been on your show and I didn't get a chance to mention
go ahead and cover it. Go ahead and cover it.
That piece of that's okay. It's already dying out now, so it's not. I don't even have to talk about it. But if you think you're gonna get reparations in the United States, you're fooling yourself. That's never gonna come. Okay, it's no way they're gonna do you like this for 400 years and then all of a sudden turn around and switch and then change you. That the white man is never psychologically, he's never about you being the same as him. And economic, he knows if he lets you get a foot in economically, that's exactly what you're gonna do, and that's not gonna happen. So wherever you are in the Washington D.C. think tanks, they are already running all kind of models to figure out what they're gonna do to you. And this ADOS thing is the same thing. Tone Talk is there crying, oh, why you guys don't do? Why you guys don't do? It's like he's realizing that shit is not gonna work. The only solution you have is to move out, start a new life in Africa. That is for your both mental and psychological well-being, as well as your economic future, as far as your family is concerned. So you should have them. Instead, when somebody mentions ADOS, you should just say, no, I'm with ADOA, American descendants of Africa. Why stop at slavery? Why stop at a negative? You don't even got a continent if you stop at slavery. But if you say, I'm a descendant of Africa, you get a whole continent on your side. Your history expands way beyond some foolishness that's in the United States. You see, you got to start thinking beyond the fact that you're special, in the fact that you got a continent of your own, and you should be recognized and realize that the propaganda in the United States makes us believe that we different than the people in Africa. Oh, we was here before the white man. Ain't nothing. Go build a house, a wooden house. Chop down trees. Go down, build a wooden house in the South and the North. Go down to Washington D.C., New York area, Pennsylvania. Chop down a tree, make a house, and see if you can survive there for the wintertime. You can't. There was nobody in the United States before the white man came, except a few Indians that were driven north from trying to escape the slavery that the Spanish were doing to them in the South. Get your history right. Okay, there was no growth here. That's why you can't find some black language, culture, or civilization. And if you talk about Indians, they try to put that thing on there that the Indians had all these great civilizations. They did, but that was in South America. That wasn't in North America. In North America, it's too cold. The weather is too harsh. It's deadly. It was impossible. There was nobody living there. The European came there. That's the only place he could survive, because when he tried to land in the South America, the Spanish was murdering them. So the ships only could come up to the north in an area where it wasn't wanted. So when they got there, they also started dying out. And they quickly realized that the only way they could survive is to use the black man as the person who's going to cut down them trees and get firewood so that they could survive and make a city. And they've been trying to do that. That's how America was developed. That's what drove them. Then they made up policy that the black man could not marry white women, and then they created the white man. There was a big book on that issue, that the white man wasn't created until the 1800s, 1600s. And you should realize the history, get it correct. You are African, and that's just the way it is. And you should not denounce a whole continent and a whole history of people because you was born in the United States. That's nonsense. And Tone Talk need to get that reality. Same thing with with Umar Johnson. With all the things that are going on in the educational system in the United States, with all the things that are happening, he's going to build a school that's going to survive and pretend like that thing is going to work. It can't work, So it can't work. And matter of fact, any businesses that we start, not any business, but most businesses that blacks try to do, like they're trying to talk about, buy with your own. You can't buy with your own if you don't have a goddamn community. And the black community is eroding completely quickly. Yeah. So if you don't have a black community, where are you gonna spend your money? How are you gonna buy black business in the middle of where? You couldn't survive without the white man or the Mexican as customers. So get that out your mind. There is no solution to your problem except to leave the United States or to make plans for your kids to be taken and educated in a modern African city. Modern African country. That's just the reality of it. That's my point. Anybody want to go against that, I'm willing to debate them.
Amara, just one last question on this. Okay, so Amara, let me ask you this. So, do you have like an ID card, a Kenyan ID card, at least?
Yeah. I know these haters are coming at me from that angle after I explained it to them. See. And you go ahead and
I don't know how to get around without like,
no, because like I said, I know them. It's not only here. They have already tried this. Okay, they already tried looking for me, trying to find out my status in the country. You see, and I have already talked about this issue on a past show. So for people that are seeing me for the first time, you need to go check me. Go check my Facebook account. It's open. It's free. I don't hide from anybody. So go check it. I mean, I can tell you, so you can feel like you can be satisfied. But only haters can't get past that point, because you're looking at me instead of looking at your fucking self in the United States, and the system is going down, and you're looking like, okay, everything depends on whether Amenkrahh is a legitimate person in Africa. God damn it, I've been here 22 years. Yeah, I'm 60 years old. How you looking at me? Why are you looking at me? When your system in the country that you're living in is rolling like that, you so busy not realizing that's the problem with us, Diners. Again, the self-hatred, we cannot unite until people start addressing the self-hatred. It's impossible. It's impossible for us to unite as a people. Well, there's so much self-hate, and that thing is a continual point with blacks in the United States. I'm not in the United States. I don't have that problem anymore, but I see it every day. You see, look how you guys are treating Bill Cosby and these celebrities. You're murdering your own people just based on self-hatred. It's your own top people. Michael Jackson shouldn't even be an issue any way, shape, or form. But here we go. Whenever somebody's down, and people want to start attacking them, you can try to do that to me if you want to, because that's the only reason why you would even get that thing in your mind beyond the message that I'm telling you. So you guys go ahead with that. This issue of and let me reiterate that point. We cannot unite as long as there's self-hatred. Now, I had many opportunities over the past years to buy land, set up a camp, and then welcome blacks that are coming from America into a stage, like a landing stage. You see, people asked me to come and do this thing, and I was doing the metrics for it and everything. But then what made me stop doing it was because the self-hatred is too much. Like I said, that crystal ball in my mind saw, like, if I did that, then the haters would never allow that thing to. And I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about our own people. That self-hatred is so thick that they come and they would criticize it. They would do everything they could, the same way they're doing with Umar Johnson and his school. The self-hatred amongst our people is too much, and you cannot get rid of it while you're living in the United States. You must leave and get out of that, and then slowly but surely you realize that thing is in us, and it's been in us for generations. This is part of the problem with 400 years of economic oppression in a capitalistic system, too much jealousy. Yeah, so stay with that nonsense there in America. Don't bring it to me over here, because I'm here giving a message, and the first thing that shows a hater is when they start targeting the person that's speaking rather than the message that he's giving. So if you got some question on the message I'm giving, fine. But now you're gonna start talking about Amenkrahh, you did what? What about you? I know that means that you getting touched by the message, and so your brain automatically triggers over to attack the messenger. I'm not for that. So I've been a competitor in martial arts. I fought in over 400 tournaments, and I know an opponent when I see one, and I'm ahead of you. So I had already got that answer set up before we even came online today. People are gonna start asking me about my paperwork. Nonsense. See, people were asking me, was I married in Kenya and legal? Were you gonna get married? You see, now that has been done. So my major point is that America is dying. The situation in modern Africa is improving. There's nothing like the Chinese. There's nothing like whites are taking over, or there's a white man in the back room at State House controlling everything that the black president does. That's nonsense. These are all nonsense sideshows to keep you from following the only solution we have as a people. See, so it's unfortunate they're winning, and a lot of us are going to suffer unneedlessly behind the economic oppression. And if you're not trying to improve yourself in the United States, you can be okay. This is another point, Dinus.
Go ahead, break it down.
They're blacks the point that they're not trying to improve themselves. They just want to get along and be satisfied. You could do that in the United States. But someone like me, I'm very special. I'm a special person, and when I try to move up, I'm gonna hit that ceiling, and I'm gonna get the backlash from the Mzungu. So I know what's there. I know what it's like. I worked in corporate America for 15 years, and I was always the only black in my department, and I saw how they treat. I saw the racism and the mental psychology of the white man when you try to show that you know more than he does. I've seen all that, and I'm telling you that if you got children, and I know the United States is trying to erode the fact that a family can't be what the idea of a family is. But if you have children and you care about your children, you should know that whatever you're facing today, they're going to face it worse. They're going to face it worse because the economic oppression is not going to let up. It's not going to let up. It's going to be more and more difficult. Okay, listen to the politicians when they start talking about during the elections. Listen to them nicely, and you can see the real state of America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what else we got here in the chat room. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Shout out, thank you, Winifred19 for the super chat. She's on that. We not African, we indigenous to America. Okay, whatever. Musir Muhammad says it is not self-hate to deny American-born descendant of the enslaved culture which the world enjoys. We have food, style, dance, tradition, linguist, style.
No, you don't have none of that. What's the culture of a black person? What's the culture of a black person? How you gonna have integration? You're gonna be fighting for integration since the 1950s, and now you got a culture? Nonsense, buddy. You don't have a culture. You're just fooling yourself. There's nothing like a culture. A culture is something that people got a language, people got a continent, they got land. You don't have none of that. The white man has sold to you nicely. Okay, and you're defending him by pretending and ignoring the fact that in the 2008 housing crisis, 50% of black Americans lost their homes. 50%. Ignore it if you like. Okay, but you ain't got nothing. You don't have nothing, and it's not your fault. It's by design, and they're still designing to take more of you out of the picture. 65,000 black women missing in the United States. Nobody's talking about that, but they're gonna talk about some prostitute that was drugging people. That's gonna be the big. They're gonna talk about ADOS. How? You're fooling yourself, and I'm here to tell you that you're missing out because you're banking on the United States. There's nothing like black people was in America before the Pilgrims. There's no house, there's no culture, there's nothing evidence to show that you was there. And I'm just saying, go out to the wilderness in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania. Go sit out there and see, look around and say, how could somebody survive in the 1600s in that weather, in that type of environment where the weather is so extreme? People in 2019 are dying during the wintertime in the United States. You can know what was happening in the 1600s. Until they brought black people over to tilt the land, it was nothing like that. So you should get your history straight. It was nothing like that's just another sideshow to keep you from realizing the fact that you are an African. You are an African. You're not an American. You're an African in America. And when you start thinking like that, then everything that's happening to you makes sense. People are making millions of dollars talking about all the problems that blacks go through every day on talk shows, and they can be doing that to the end of time because nobody's gonna let up and take their foot off your neck unless you walk over to the airport and get on a plane and change your circumstances.
Shoot, brother Amir Raw, anything else you like to share in closing? You know,
Yeah,
it's more
everything.
comments come up. I'll I'll share them. But go ahead. Anything else you'd like to share on in closing?
You know, if you look at all the videos that I have done with you, Dynasty, you see they all follow the same pattern, as you were saying, the same pattern. I'm talking about the transition to for blacks to come outside of the United States and use Africa as an alternative. Now, when you start talking about when you start having people that are on the in the chat room talking about we descendants of America, but they can't show one language, one culture, one house, you know, one village, you know, some writing somewhere showing that was true. They just believe it. You consider mental damage that we have as a people. So that is something that I don't want to really waste time on. Since the beginning of the time when in 2004 when I started writing my book, I knew this was going to happen. And I was explaining to the people then that you show that once I got here to Africa and saw the reality of it, I was hooked. And I didn't come, you know, I didn't go to the rural sides. I came right into the modern section of Nairobi, and you know, in my life here as a martial artist, I have the unique opportunity to have hundreds and hundreds of friends and students that I deal with on a daily basis. So I know the culture, I know the people. Okay, I'm you know I got children that are African and they're being raised in African. So this not like I'm talking from the back of my neck. Okay, I'm living it. And I was living it then, and I explained it then, and I'm still living today. I'm telling you that your only solution is to move here. The solution for what, Amin? And I'm saying again, if you just aspire to live a normal life and just be okay, okay, stay in America. I understand. That's why take the risk. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you'll know when it's time to go. But for those people that aspire to greatness, for those people that really want to make something of themselves, or they have really large dreams, don't let your dreams be dampened because you don't factor in the fact that racism is there to block you on from achieving your full potential. If you were in modern Africa, you have a benefit of being a Black American. People will listen to you. People will give you an opportunity. If you work yourself right, you'll go a lot farther, and the sky is the limit. There is no cloud of racism, and racism is only economic oppression that is going to hinder you. It's only you and your abilities. And that's basically what I wanted to say for today's show. These guys, haters, I could sit in here and rake them over the coals, but haters are going to be haters.
All right, last question. Brian Gibson says, I'm in Raw. Blacks do have culture. Our culture is rooted from our ancestors from West and Central Africans. What are your thoughts on that?
Say that again. That the culture is rooted where?
From
Where's
West
this culture?
Central Africa.
Huh? It's saying African Americans have culture.
Okay, so blacks do have culture. Our culture is rooted from our ancestors from West and Central Africa.
Okay, do that even make sense? How you gonna talk about I'm an American? I'm talking about Black people who believe that they got a culture that's separate from Africa. If the person is saying that it's in an African, our culture is rooted in Africa, then he need to bring his ass back home. Then it's simple like that. Because obviously, you're being mistreated in the United States, or maybe you think you're being treated well. I don't know. But not only does racism at its highest point in decades, blatant racism and from white hate groups is at its highest point, and that's going to continue to rise because the population of blacks is going down. And then when you couple in the fact that you don't have a Black community that you can run to for support, you're just on your own. And they love catching the Negro, walking down the lonely road by himself. So this is what's going on. Imprisonment of blacks is at an all-time high. You get caught, They tell you you're innocent. You get caught. They take you to the court. They go take you to a back room and they tell you, look, we know you didn't. We know you didn't pull a gun on the store manager, and we know you didn't really come in there to rob somebody. But if you plead to trespassing, you can get get probation for 2 years. Yeah, we'll let you. It's better than to try to go to court because if you lose, you're gonna get 10 years. This is the thing that they're doing to brothers in the back room, and your whole life has changed right at that moment, and you end up pleading and going to court, and your whole life is ruined. You see what I'm saying? So you get out, you try to get a job, but now you find that it's on your record. And those are document papers in America that kill a lot of us. You see, getting entangled with the law. So I'm saying those things are not here in modern Africa. You don't have to deal with that anymore. It's just a better opportunity for you to move forward. And I just suggest that people please just try to take a different look at Africa, and don't look at Africa as Africa. Look at modern Africa, and then look at the countries. I'm in Kenya. Dynasty went to Nigeria. There's Ghana. These countries that have modern cities that are developing, and you can locate them. You can Google them and find them. And then again, if you move to an African country and you don't like it, you always can move to another one. Okay, so nobody is saying like one is better than another. In actuality, you can always choose. No country fits every person. So yeah, I just say that Kenya is a good stopping point. If you're going to come to Africa, I would suggest Kenya because you have more economic opportunity than you would have in Ghana because Ghana is small, and then it's an oil-based country, and anything can happen. But Kenya is more diverse, minerals, financial, these kind of things. So I'm saying as a start-off point, and that's basically all I'm saying is that take another look. These people that are saying that the ADOS movement has got your head twisted around, that's nonsense. It's not the first time that it has come up. Reparations that came up about 15 years ago, and they were talking the similar movement like that. But at the end of the day, it died off very quickly, and reparations was put off the table. Remember, Dr. Claude Anderson has been trying to get reparations for a long time, for many decades, and he has not succeeded. So obviously you can see that the Congress is not going to switch and turn around and give trillions of dollars to African Americans. That's a pipe dream, and I'm sorry to be the one to tell you.
Okay. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Kay, thank you for the super chat. I have never experienced racism in America. Here we go. James Pope, thank you for the super chat. Yeah. So
okay, let me say. There's so many things to say.
No,
so they say that you always hear this thing about America is bad, murder, killing, black people, and blah blah blah. Okay, I know that it's not that bad as they put on TV and they're showing the movies and these statistics. I know it's not that bad. Okay. But it's bad compared to when you go to a modern African city, you see that it's a lot worse. You see, I mean, the people not like run around shooting people in the head every day, but God damn it, I think there were like 732 people murdered in Chicago. This is a statistic that said 4,000 people were shot and injured in Chicago, and that's just one city. Now, couple that with the fact that there's no guns allowed in most modern African cities. People don't have guns. Guns are not allowed. That's just the way it is. So imagine a place where it's no guns are allowed. People are just peaceful. You see, and this is what people can't really realize until they come, and then they have the ability to compare. So experiencing racism, okay, that's good for you, but in my estimate, I felt it. Okay, I was directly attacked by racism on several occasions. I was in the police academy, and these two white trainers decided that I was the one they're gonna get rid of. They lied to me. I was told I could come back in 6 months, and then when I called personnel to go back in 6 months, they told me there's nothing like that. That is 6 months later, I realized I had been duped by these two white guys. But I wasn't black conscious at the time. I just thought they just didn't like me. But then later on, when my eyes became open, and then I started reading in the newspaper how they were suing the LA black people, black officers were suing the LAPD because of racism. That's when I realized it, and I didn't follow the suit because I still believed in the system at that time. So you might be lucky, but it's there. And for each account that's there in the United States, there is no such thing as racism in a modern African city. So yeah, and I said there is no such a thing. You can come and say, oh, the Asians, or this and that, but nobody has power over the black African in his countries. Okay, no white man, no Asian. That's just fantasy. Okay, and westernized countries are always going to come up with that kind of idea to make you think that the African is not only not in charge of his country, but he's stupid, and you got the insight that the Chinese are going to take over, but the African is so stupid he don't know that. You see, how you gonna know something, but the people that's writing and making agreements with the Chinese, they don't know. You get what I'm saying? That's when you know you've been propagandized. When you think you got information that the average African, so all of Africa goes there, the Africans is being duped, and you in the United States, you read somewhere and somebody's telling you, you don't even know who they are. Somebody's telling you that the Africans is being duped, and you think you're privy to information that the African don't have. It's because it's not true. It's not true. And I'm saying that these things that are put out in the paper, that's not cheap. That propaganda costs a lot of money. And the white man is investing billions of dollars in putting out false propaganda to keep you in the United States. He'd rather murder you in the United States than set you free. That's not in his agenda. Okay? So yeah, if you got a good job, fine. If you just okay and you see your pension is coming, your 401k, what to see, but you waiting for that money, okay, fine. Some of you are already seeing that the tax money that you thought you was gonna get coming next month is not going to be there because of the tax trick that Trump paid on you in 2017. So you thinking you'll get that big? I'm just predicting for you. You think you're gonna get that big tax check? No. Because 2017, they made a new law. It takes effect. Watch when you get your check and see how much less money you get. And this is just an ongoing process of how they're going to weed you out and keep you economically oppressed. Okay, they told you that thing was going to benefit everybody. They're going to take less money out of your check, but that means they're going to give you less money when your tax returns come. So, yeah, that's the point on that issue. You should just take another clean look at modern Africa. Try to Google some common sense things as opposed to how you know what's the bad things about Africa. Don't do that, because you're not gonna find out about Africa through the social media. And I'm telling you, you're not gonna be able to Google enough to find out everything you need to know about coming to Africa. You're gonna have to make that trip. You're gonna have to make that trip. And I'm here to tell you, it would be you'll be thoroughly surprised. You'll be happy and see. But I'm not the only one telling you. So we should not be focusing in on attacking little old me.
All right, brother Amenkrahh, we appreciate you joining us. How can people reach out to you?
I'm always available on Facebook, Black Man's Guide to Moving to Modern Africa. The website has been there for 8 years. So you can scroll down that website and see a lot of the information that I'm discussing, and a lot of historical things that have happened over the last 8 years in Kenya, in the United States. So yeah, it's one of the oldest group sites on the topic of searching for freedom or searching for a who. And you see, you can't get freedom by staying in the United States. You might think you're free, and you hear people talk about it all the way from Marcus Garvey to Malcolm X on down the line. In fact, I want the last thing.
Go.
So the three M's: Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, and Malcolm X. These are three major people that deal in Black consciousness, Black America. All of them were allowed to speak and move around until they started talking about the Black man moving to Africa. Do your research. Marcus Garvey, when he started the Black Star Line and it started looking like they were going to take ships to Africa, oh, they killed him off right. I mean, they didn't kill him, but I mean, they got rid of him immediately. That's when they started attacking him. That's when the government went after him. Malcolm X took the 2 trips to Africa, and when he came back, he was under the realization, listen to his last speeches, he was saying the Africans and the African Americans must come together and move into a homeland in Africa. Oh, he was dead in the next couple of weeks. People don't really realize that Martin Luther King went to Africa also. He was there at Ghana's inauguration, and he also went to Nigeria. And he had a lot of reservations then. And I want to take it back to his last speech when he said, you know, I have been to the mountaintop and I have seen the promised land. You see, there's a code there. Now, what does he mean by that? Nobody really knew, but he almost went to tears after he said that. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. And that promised land is modern Africa. Just plain and simple. Go through it nicely, know your history, understand it well. Huh? You're not supposed to stay in an oppressive land. Nobody does that except Black people. And that is because the game of racial oppression and racism is continuous.
And one last super chat that I just got. Keisha Rose says, I had a live-in nanny from Kenya. Our style of cooking, fashion, music, dance is very similar. Even the way we teach, raise, and discipline children is similar. African Americans have a culture.
Okay, do you have a language? No. Do you have a land? Do you have a land you call yourself? No, you don't have that. So do you have money? Do you have your own money? No, you don't have your own money. So I'm saying, stop that, please. That lady had a language, and I'm sure you probably heard her speaking in Kikuyu or Luo or whatever, Luya or whatever. I've heard you've seen her. See? And when she started talking in her home tongue, you felt funny. Let's say the word. I'll say you felt funny. You felt the effects of racism and the denial of who you really are, because you don't have a language. She got a land called Kenya. You don't have that. You got the white man's wherever he gives you, and he stole 50% of your land in 2008, and he's gonna go for the rest of it in a few coming soon. And the dishes that they make, they have names for them. Okay, it's not like noodles. It's not like spaghetti. You see, what culture, what language, what soul food? Come on, we already know that's the worst part of the animal that they give us. So it's a joke. Okay, only thing you can do, and I'm sorry to say, and I know people are gonna not like it, but I'm saying only thing you can do is take your individualism, is you as an individual, make the plan, move, pick an African country and move there. You will be assimilated into the culture, meaning you or your children will marry somebody from whatever land you go to. Okay, my kids born there, they're Kenyans. Okay, they're marrying other Kenyans. When I die, that's it. They're not going to be known as African Americans. They're going to be known as Kenyans. I have been assimilated into the culture. Okay, and that can be stopped. There's no way that 40 million blacks, even if it was possible, even if 40 million of us went into Africa, you'd just be assimilated into the African culture. So it makes no sense not to embrace it and accept it, because that's the reality. Okay, so saying you have a culture in the United States is like saying I'm gonna stay with the United States because I got a culture. It's no culture that you have in the United States that the white man is respecting. Okay, so if you talk about singing and dancing, Michael Jackson has shown you what happened when he bought the Beatles catalog that had all the Little Richard songs within that catalog, and he tried to give it back to Little Richard, and Richard couldn't take them because he had already struck deals with whites. So he didn't want the pressure. You know what I'm saying? So this is the reality of it behind the scenes. If you just go in and unfortunately, I do this research, and you see, it's like everywhere you go, it's like Dr. Neely Fuller has said, all 9 areas of activity, the white man is controlling them inside the United States, but not inside Africa. See, all the 9 areas of activity, he got hundreds of think tanks that sit there and look at them activities and say, now how blacks are doing on that one. They look like they're coming up. Okay, let's get them on economics, or let's get them on business. You see what I'm saying? Or let's get them on education and push them down, push them down, push them down. And that's how they roll. And that's how they've been rolling for 400 years to keep us down. And anybody that says anything different, now I'm not saying you as an individual, no, I'm saying we as a people. Because you might be rich as an individual, but that don't stop the black community from being gentrified out of existence. You see, Detroit gone, Harlem gone, Watts gone. Okay, these places are like that. And then places like in Atlanta, oh, where Dynasty is, God, you see, look at the black community is confused. Okay, so everywhere you go, you see this decadence and these issues and this oppression and this poverty within where black people reside. So, yeah, if you don't think that that's happening, then okay, God bless you. Stay in America.
Well, I'm Rahh, brother. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Make sure you go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Everyone who super chatted, thank you so much for super chatting. Make sure, again, you check out I'm Rahh too, the Black Man's Guide to Africa, correct? I'm Rahh. Hello, did you check out already? Okay. Until next time, family, Dynasty Search for Huru. Peace.